Hello and welcome to RC Custom Creations. If you haven't seen last night's video in regards to the update on where I am in the progress of this FMS K10 bulletproof series that I've been working on, I think this is actually going to be part 6. Yay! Finally! Anyhow, I finally managed to correct the driveline angle on the rear end in regards to the pinion angle. What it was is a combination of my upper and lower links. They had to be adjusted in length. Yeah, so I figured all that out, and now it's time to move forward. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it actually. See, the pinion is now lined up with the angle of the rear links on the back, as well as fairly close on the front. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, as you can see, I've gone ahead and I've removed the wheels and brass hexes off the chassis. I just want to go over one thing. There's going to be a point on the reassembly of this where you could go ahead and install your plastic drive shafts if that's what you're planning on using. For mine, I'm going with the metal drive shafts. I have 1/18 scale drive shafts, but of course they're too short for the rear end, too long for the front, so they have to go to the machine shop. One get cut down to fit the front, and one get extended. And my plans is to take the section that I removed from the front, have that welded up onto the rear ends, and make that longer so it's compatible. I've heard rumors, I don't know how true it is, that you can get either it's like the FCX 24 or TRX 4 drive shafts, or it might even be 1/10 scale. I don't know what it is, but apparently there are some drive shafts that you can make work. I don't understand what they're doing in regards to the output shafts on the transmission, as well as the pinions, the different sizes. They're 3mm on the transmission side, and the differential, I believe, is 4mm. So moving forward, I am going to have to take my drive shaft, I guess it would be this side here for the rear end, the spline shaft, and have the hole drilled out an additional 1mm all the way around, so 0.5 mm wider. Yeah, that's going to have to be done on both the front and the back. Okay, so now you can see that I got a plethora of parts all over my table. I just wanted to start off with explaining how I made these links. These links aren't available on Amazon or eBay. What I did is I ordered some sections of M2 threaded rod. You all know what that looks like. Some M4 by oh boys, I think it's M.25 wall thickness seamless tubing, as well as some brass, M2 brass. I should have ordered a thinner wall thickness. I actually had to drill these out. The reason why you need this is because if you're using these aluminum components that are available on banggood.com, Amazon, maybe even eBay, some of the holes are drilled out to M 1.4 thread pattern. So to install these M2 rod ends, which I also ordered, there would be too much play in the pillow ball itself. So you kind of need a spacer. As you can see right here, kind of hard to focus on it. you might be able to see the yellow brass spacer in there. And also to accommodate for the gap issue in between the threaded rod and the M4 stainless tubing, what I did was I took some heat shrink and shrunk a couple of sections, one overlapping the other. I'll take this one apart here so you can see. And it was perfect. There's no side to side motion. See here. Try to get that slid off there, so you guys can see. As you can see, there's heat shrink tubing on it, and yeah, it worked out pretty good. I do have to go ahead and put some Loctite on the on each of these. Now that I got this one apart, I'll go ahead and do that, and that'll keep the rod ends from vibrating out. I tried ordering actual turnbuckles, and I couldn't quite get the correct size, so that's why I went this route. And seems to work fine. I'm not going to bore you guys with doing the thread lock on all these. I just wanted to do this one as an example. When I'll get you the measurements, but for each of these links, so that you guys know what to. If you're following what I'm doing, you guys know what to measure your links to. I also, because the M4 wall thickness is a little bit thicker than the actual link itself, I kind of threw a little taper on the edges of the M4 seamless tubing, and that helped tidy things up. Just going to quickly get you guys a quick measurement of all the links that I used, and then I'll move forward with the assembly. So for the rear uppers, what worked for me was about 45.5. That's for the upper links, 45.5 millimeters from the center of the hole to the center of the hole. The lower links, what I managed to get to work for me was about 65.5 millimeters for the lower links on the back end. For the rear, or for the front lowers, which keep in mind that if you're using these M2 links, and these aluminum mounts, cross members, you will need one spacer in each of the for each of the lower links, just for one side of each length, or each length rather. And for the lower link, I got a measurement of about 52.5 millimeters. For the upper link, I got a measurement of, and again, on one end of each link, you will require a spacer. And that link is approximately 33.5 millimeters in length, center of screw to center of screw. And I also had to make the panhard bar, so I will go with measurement on that. And the panhard bar sits at about 46 millimeters from center of the link to center of the link. For the drag link on the front, as well as the tie rod going to the steering servo, I'm trying out these internet available links. I will include a link in description down below, in the description box as to where you can get those, and try to include part numbers. So I'm just going to move forward with this, and yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start by assembling the links to the front of the differential, and to do that I'm going to use, for the top of the links, you are going to need a M1.4 millimeter screw. That is approximately 8 millimeters in length. Just going to throw a very little bit of thread lock on the screw itself. Keeping in mind that I do plan on taking this apart down the road for, you know, any repairs. Being careful not to over tighten the screw itself. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people do make, is they tend to over tighten the screw, and then you know, with these screws being as small as they are and the thread lock on it, you know, makes it next to impossible to remove the hardware. So you just want to snug it up, throw a little bit of Loctite on, very little bit, and call it a day. So I got my 2 upper links on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install my panhard as well. The panhard also required a spacer, as you have to use a M1.4 by let's see here, 10 millimeter screw. But I believe this screw itself, it comes with the axle set, if I recall correctly. And if not, M1.4 by 10 millimeter is the screw size that you need. I thought when making the panhard bar I was going to have to bend the link, but it seems to work out. I might play with bending the link down the road, but for now I just kind of want to see how things go, and go from there. There we go. So now we got the panhard bar, the drag link, as well as the upper links now mounted on. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with installing the shocks on the bottom of the axle itself. And to do that, I use M2 by, let's see here, M2 by 16 millimeter screws for the bottoms, and then for the top I use M2 by about 10 millimeter screws for the tops. No spacers are required for this. So again, M2 by 6 or M2 by 16 rather for the bottoms, and I'm going to go ahead and stick the screw in the hole on the bottom of the link. Throw a little bit of Loctite onto the bottom or that screw, and just pop it in the hole there. That's when you have the correct size head. And your screwdriver. Again, being careful not to over tighten things. Moving on to the next screw. As well as link combination. Not sure what happened there. And after to pull that screw, I guess I got the wrong screw in there. Looks like I turned to the Allen screws for these. Not sure where that one screw came from. Or maybe I just forgot to change it out. Again, M2 by 16. Being careful not to over tighten things. And yes, that's what it looks like, because I got M2, I got the cap head screws on that side as well. So just going to get rid of this M2 by 16 Phillips. This must have been the screw that came with the axle set itself. Trying to convert it all over to the Allen screws. You can get away with doing, if you have them, a M2 by 14 millimeter screw for this spot, but all I have is M2 by 16, so it is what it is. There we have it. Nice and suspension all set up. Oops. Moving forward. There we have it. Now have the front end all assembled and ready to go onto the chassis. Now I'm going to move over to the rear end. As you can see, I've already have the upper links. You are going to require the M1.4 by what did I say? Can't remember. I'll have to. Goodness. See here, this screw is an M1.4 by 8 millimeter screw, and that goes for both the links on the top side on the rear end. Put a little bit of Loctite on there, and you will need a spacer for that for these screws. Otherwise, you're going to have a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of play in the holes, and that'll give you alignment issues, actually, of all things. There we go. Moving forward, I'm going to proceed to install the bottom links. Which to do that, I'm going to bring out a shock, bring a link forward. Now, what I did for this is because I have aftermarket shocks on the rear end, I pulled the springs off off the shocks from the original shocks, and I swapped them onto these shocks, so they're stiffer. The front end I left alone, so they're you know, they seem to do well with the weight of the electronics and everything on in the front end. But the rears, they always had a sagging issue. I never did relocate the shocks, so that's why I put the heavier spring on it. So moving forward, what you will require is a spacer to space the bottom of the shock bodies from the links themselves, and the spacer that I use is 3.3 millimeters by, let's see here, 3 millimeters with a 2 millimeter internal, well, I guess it's saying 2.2, but 2 millimeter internal diameter. The bottom screw is 16 millimeters long, M2, and yeah. So starting off with the screw going through the shock, put the spacer on, followed by the link, a little bit of thread lock, and pop that into the hole. Jumpins. Being careful not to over tighten things. And moving forward. There. Repeating the same process. The 16 millimeter screw at the bottom of the shock. Sliding my spacer on. And my link. A little bit of thread lock. And at this point, I now have both sets of links installed. My shocks installed, as well as got an extra screw for some reason, as well as my front axle assembly is now completely ready to be installed. So I'm going to move forward with this the installation of the transmission into the chassis, as well as the axles onto the chassis. So bringing the chassis over, and I guess we'll start with the front end onto the transmission itself. We'll bring that over, that assembly, and we will move the panhard out of the way. Play issues there. A little bit of thread lock got into the screw, I think, or into the ball, I think. Yeah. There we go. Might have to squirt some WD-40 in there after, but time will tell. Gonna move the bottom link out of the, or down. Get rid of the shocks. going to put a little bit of thread lock onto the, when I say a little bit, not the whole bottle, onto the M1.4 by 8mm screw. Fasten that up. Get rid of the screw. It's trying to bug me. Turning things around. Bringing the link down. And again, these the ends of these links there on the bottom links on the front have spacers in them to accommodate these M1.4mm screws. A little bit of thread lock. There we have it. Freely moving. Good. Moving forward to the install onto the chassis itself. I'm going to turn things around. All the screws that hold the cross members on front to back are all the same size, and they are M2 by what looks to be 6mm screws, and again, throwing a little bit of thread lock on them. General rule of thumb, if you're going metal on metal, you want thread lock. Prevent the vibrations from vibrating everything loose and causing you breakdowns on the road, or trail, or course, whatever you're using it on. Here we have it. Going to move over to the top of the suspension. Going to install the panhard, which is an M2 by what also looks like a 6mm screw. M2 by 6. Just a little bit of thread lock on that. Wipe off the excess. Oh, shoot. Helps if you have the panhard. Nice. Now I'm going to take the screw and pop it into the top of the screw hole for the shock. Forgot about that. Tops of these shocks, they actually just pop right on, so I guess it's just easier to screw the brass bushing on, ball socket, whatever you want to call it, and then pop your shock on. I'm going to situate my reservoir over top of the kingpin and turn things around. So now that I got the front end all mounted up to the I guess the driver's side, I'm now going to proceed with installing the rear end, and it goes on this very similar way. Being sure to have everything all situated correctly. The longer links are going to go obviously to the further hole closest to the transmission. And for those screws I went with M2x10s. A little bit of thread lock. And then for the upper links, I went with an M2x8. The reason why I was able to go with an M2x10 on the longer links is there is a boss on the chassis right there that allows for a longer screw. Moving forward, I'm going to install the upper link to the immediate hole behind the first hole that you mount the link to. A little bit of thread lock once again. There we have it. Moving forward, I'm going to turn the chassis around. I suppose I missed the link on the front. If any of you caught that, leave a comment down below. I'll have to go back to that. Not a big deal. So moving forward to the shocks on the back end, for that I use an M2 by what looks to be 10mm screw again. Yeah. And I'm facing the reservoirs down towards the ground this time, as opposed to up. I haven't tried them going upwards, but I feel like it might. I guess it might not create binding issues. I think it looks better down, facing down anyway. There we have it. The rear end is all tied up. Just gonna go back to this one link here that I missed. It's a M2 by 8 for the upper link. It's gonna be a little tricky. I wish I would have caught that. The thread lock. So that actually, right there would have been a good time actually, before tightening that link up would have been a good time to put your drive shaft in if you were doing that. If if you already have a set of axles or drive shafts to put on. That would have been a great time to do that. Same with right now, would be a great time to put your rear drive shaft on, but I'm not going to do that. I'll fight with it once I get my machined ones all done. So now I'm going to proceed to install all the screws for this side. I'm not going to bore you guys with that install. You know, it's using the same same kind of screws. All the cross member screws, they're a M2 by 8 millimeters, and then of course the whatever size screws that I use on the opposite side of the links for this side. I'm going to put you guys on brief pause, and then I'll bring you back once this is all assembled. I know I said I wasn't going to bore you guys with the install of all these screws, but I got the majority of this, or I got all the suspension done, so it, figured I'd bring you back. Just want to say that I ordered some channel stickers that I'm going to start selling, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about doing that. I haven't looked into how you do market on YouTube itself. So with that being said, I might open up a dedicated RC Custom Creations Facebook page, and you know, do the marketing through Facebook itself. If you're interested in a Facebook page, let me know. It'd be geared for setting up, or for everybody to post on. I know there's a million other RC groups out there on Facebook, but I think that just might be the easiest way for me to market my my stickers. So far, I've ordered 3 different designs. One of the designs is of the YouTube banner that's on my YouTube channel, and then there's a couple other different designs there. So if you're interested in some stickers, please let me know. You know, leave a comment down below, and try to you know, keep you guys in mind there once they come in. They should be here towards the end of the month. Excited to get them, and hopefully I can get some stickers out to you guys. Anyhow, almost done with the install of the chassis screws, and then I can talk about what I've done for the electronics. Not sure if I've done that yet in previous videos, but yeah, I'm sure you guys can all tell that the speed control is of the Hobby wing. It's a 1080 quick run brushed system. Of course, I got a brushed motor installed on with the transmission. It's a 60 turn, I do believe, 66 turn rather. Hopefully it gives it a little bit of torque. So there we have it. Finally got the chassis all assembled. As you can see, like I said earlier, the pinion angle matches the drag links. Created quite a mess with this Loctite. That goes for the front and the back. All kinds of rebound. Front's a little bit stiff right now. I've got to get, I think I got some Loctite up in one of the balls here. I'll have to fix that, but you know, that's a small thing. Anyhow, if you've already installed your if you're installing your stock electronics, then you can continue on. But if you're going with the 1080, then you have to put it sideways in the chassis, and you will have to loosen up your front accessory plate, cross member, all 4 screws. Double side tape your 1080. So it's sixth back just a little bit, maybe about a 1/16 of a millimeter back on the plate, double side tape, and then fasten up your fasteners. and then from there, you know, you could install change your servo as needed, or do whatever you want to do with your setup that way. So anyhow, with that being said, I think I'm going to close this video off here, with the exception of remounting my wheels, and get everything cleaned up here. If you like this video, I know there was some cumbersome spots. If you hung out till the end, thank you very much. If you want to see more of my content and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. You know, you're more than welcome to. If not, that's okay too. I'm out there. Yeah, I hope you all have a good day, and thank you. Bye for now.